Spent 39 years in the regular army and the last 3 years in the Army Reserve. I started off in artillery, then I transferred across to Aviation Corps, and now I'm a reservist managing the museum.
And I guess it's hard to sum it up in just a moment or two, but you would have done many things during that time. Does it come back to you on a day like today? You start thinking about those individual elements, those people that you were with at the time?
Oh, I think, of course, it does, Pat. We're a very unique organisation, the Defence Force, but part of a team, and you really have close relationships and bonds with your compatriots. The old comrades in arms is a very true statement, and you never forget these people. You have good memories and you have bad memories.
Indeed. Well, the parade is starting to make its way toward ANZAC Park now. The police motorcycles leading off with their lights flashing at this point in time, and following them we've got the light horse, John, and a boost in the numbers of the light horse who are marching today, which is very good to see.
Yes, look, Bushy Joyner has led the parade for the last 15 years, and this year he has a new horse called Trooper Tones. Just be aware that these people provide all their own equipment, they maintain it at their own expense. Two other people riding with Bushy is Erin McGuffrey and Melda Carson, and they both have links. Their grandfather served in the White Horse in World War One, and so they have a link. And also Melda Carson is a former serving member of the 1st Expeditionary Health Services Squadron Detachment in the RAF. The interesting thing about the horse, or the horses, they're called whalers. And whalers were given that term because they were sold and they congregated in New South Wales before being deployed overseas. They're a hardy horse which could travel long distances with little water. 136,000 whalers were used by the Australian Imperial Forces during World War One. Only one horse came back, and that was belonging to Major General Bridges, and his name was Sandy.
Well, it's very good. It's very good to see. We've got more of the horses this year, which is wonderful to have a bit of company at the front of the parade. That's fantastic. Beyond that, we have what in military terms might have done the horses a disservice. We've got the vehicles, the historic vehicles from the Military Vehicle Club here in the north. We've got the motorcycles, who I'm always impressed by travelling at such low speeds.
The Military and Historic Vehicle Club participates each year in the Townsville and Whangaroa marches and offers returned soldiers who cannot or do not wish to march a ride in a Jeep or other vehicles taking part in the parade. The club has been operating for 34 years, and once again all the vehicles are privately owned and restored.
And that is a very good point you make there, John, that these are the first of our veterans coming through here now. Some of those that may have not wanted to march, maybe health isn't what it was originally, and the people who've got those stories from those conflicts that were a long time ago to a lot of young people who are coming through today.
Yeah, and it's a great sight to see all the veterans proudly waving flags, displaying their medals from conflicts, World War II, Korea, right up to the modern. You'll see the different types of vehicles, all the different Willys, Jeeps, all in different colours, denoting different theatres of war, and there's Navy, there's Army, and there's also the more modern vehicles. Well, they're superseded now, the old Land Rovers here.
And this one that's just gone past us here now actually has USA on it, so we've got to look after the GIs as well.
Oh, without a doubt. I just got a gunners passing us now. Signal Corps.
There's an amazing amount of work goes into keeping these vehicles on the road as well, John. I know that the people who own these vehicles put in a lot of work. A lot of the time they can't even get parts, they have to make their own parts because we're talking about older vehicles and you just don't have spares lying around like you used to.
Oh, this is very true, and they, as I said, they treasure these vehicles, they make the parts, they keep them in immaculate condition, which is worthwhile today, as you can see by the various tax signs denoting various locations, and also the different types of vehicles.
And if you get a chance when those vehicles come on display, as they invariably do at different times, say good day to the people who are driving them, and they're very, very happy to tell you about the history of that vehicle, where it might have been from, and how it might have come into their possession. That can all be quite entertaining, actually.
Very true.
So who have we got here now, John?
We now got the TPIs, totally firmly incapacitated, and the services, and once again, the buses have been provided. Make sure all the crowds give them a really good round of applause as they go past.
Yeah, John, amongst some of the veterans today at the head of the parade, there are a couple that you wanted to mention specifically?
Yes, look, I think one, Mr. Bateman, he's a 96-year-old veteran who insisted that he march today. He was a member of the famous 39th Battalion, which were involved in the Battle of Ishirara in 1942 in Papua New Guinea, and they had a 9-day fighting withdrawal on the Dakota track. He is marching, as he said today, in honour of those that did not make it home. Very touching. There's only 30 members of the 39th Battalion surviving today.
It is one of the sad facts. We come back year after year for ANZAC Day, and each year we talk about the veterans who made it through the war but aren't here this year. When I was a child, there was those who fought in the First War. Sadly, we don't have any of those, and now we have very few from the Second War that are here and able to keep that memory alive, at least in living memory. I know that at the museum you do a great job with that. One of the extra areas that's being highlighted this year, and I know that the Wing Commander spoke about it today at the dawn service, John, is the contribution of the nurses in theatres of war, why they've played such a significant part and been involved in various conflicts, playing such an important role.
The nurses have been with our service from overseas since the start. In World War I, they were stationed on one of the islands off the coast of Gallipoli, and they received all our wounded and all that. That was the commencement. They obviously, World War II in all theatres of war. Unfortunately, some were prisoners of war, and some were killed by the Japanese army during World War II in the Pacific. They've also served with great pride in Korea, Vietnam, and also continually serving today.
And as you say, some were killed in horrific circumstances as well.
Yes, that's correct. We won't go into details in this audience, but it was an atrocity during World War II, which I think Australians will never forget.
Well, the nurses will be coming through soon enough. You also, I know, especially in recent times, we've had, not a resurgence, a renewed demand for the services of agencies like Legacy. I know that, again, I'll go back to my childhood. My great-grandmother was a widow that was very thankful for the work that Legacy had done for her long after my great-grandfather had died. He died quite young as a result of his injuries in the war, and she was very grateful all the way through the end. But now we've got this new generation, sadly, of widows that are being well looked after by Legacy.
Yes, and not only Legacy, there's a lot of other organisations now that are looking after our return servicemen that have come back with injuries and or with mental disorders. So these organisations have stepped up to the mark and are providing a fantastic service to all our servicemen, past and present.
A few more of our veterans in the taxis, which is another tradition that goes way back.
Yeah, the taxis have always stepped up to the mark on ANZAC Day and provided free of charge their services to ensure that our veterans who cannot march are represented on this parade.
Something that goes back, I guess, to what happened, in fact, especially after the Second War, when a lot of veterans came back and found work driving taxis. I think that the connection goes way back when we talk about Rising Sun taxis and the like. Well, the next group we have is at the front of the parade, in front of the serving military, who will be here fairly soon in their units. But we're talking about Vietnam veterans, and a very special occasion for them today, especially as we look back on 50 years of the Battle of Long Tan. But always a lot of feeling about the Vietnam War. I think those feelings from the time of the war continue to this day.
Yes, just before we talk about that, the parade commander is Wing Commander Zinos. He's the commanding officer of the 383 Squadron, Brad Place Council, and we follow on by the national flag of Australia and New Zealand. And now we're moving into the Vietnam veterans who are leading the march proudly. And they're marching to mark the 50th anniversary of the Battle of Long Tan. Australian servicemen who were engaged in the Vietnam conflict from 1962 to 1975. Almost 60,000 Australians, including ground troops, air force and Navy personnel, served in Vietnam. 521 Australians died in the conflict and over 3,000 were wounded. 18th of August 2016 will mark the 50th anniversary of the Battle of Long Tan, also known as Vietnam Veterans Day.
That's right, and there will be some specific commemorations around that date in August as well. So we can obviously look forward to sharing some more information as that gets closer as to what's going on there. The group's marching together as well, which is a significant factor. They haven't always marched together. There are a number of different Vietnam Veterans Associations, so all marching together at the front of the parade as a group. So is this Charlie Company we've got coming now, John? I hope your eyes are better than mine.
Yes, it certainly is. Charlie Company 3rd of the Battalion Royal Australian Regiment served with distinction in South Vietnam from December 1967 through to November 1968. The company was involved in several operations in those including Operation Inaroo and Operation Tone 20, which included the battles of Coral Balmoral. Charlie Company lost 3 killed in action and 15 wounded in action. Although their ranks are thinning, they've come from all over the country today to unite in council, the home of their parent unit, Old Faithful 3rd Battalion, Royal Australian Regiment, now based at ANZAC Parade.
Yeah, so coming from all over the country to be here today, so give them a nice big clap as you do with everyone as they come.
Parade in succession. Aye.
It's interesting to note that each group will give an eyes right to the reviewing officer. This is an opportunity that dates back to the medieval times when the soldiers could look the reviewing officer, their commander, in the eye, and a mutual respect was given with a salute and the eyes right.
Most definitely, and the wing commander is the one, as you mentioned, who's taking that salute today. We're about to get drowned out by one RAR band, mercifully, for a few minutes, I think. And they're leading in the first of our serving military here today on the Strand in Townsville with 6:30 ABC North Queensland. My name's Pat Hessian, and alongside me, Major John Lavery from Army Museum North Queensland. Let's have a listen to the 1RAR band as they come past.
Next group of just going past the dice now is 4th Regiment, commanding officer Lieutenant Colonel Alan Payne and the Regimental Sergeant Major Stephen Shooting. The origins of 4th Regiment, Royal Regiment Australian Artillery takes us back to 4th Regiment Brigade in World War I. Next going past is 3 CSR, Combat Signal Regiment, commanding officer Lieutenant Colonel Wunsch, Regimental Sergeant Major Warrant Officer Class 1 Adrian Hodges. Their reference lineage dates back to 103 Signal Squad, who deployed to South Vietnam in 1966. They've had many deployments to Fiji, Somalia, Rwanda, Bougainville, Irian Jaya and East Timor.
The RAAF here in their blue, once again, making quite a spectacle.
There's a bit of light on the ground today due to the major effort in supporting ANZAC events from Cook down to Wombury, just about every city along the coast of North Queensland. In conjunction with Townsville City Council, Rappace Council will be holding an open day and flying fly the weekend the 15th to 16th of October. More to come from that. Next, Jeff Colon, you cannot have a right. Here by the 1st Armoured Regiment with a mixture of Avery tanks, BAV 25s and armoured personnel turrets.
So a number of different groups falling underneath their individual banners, as you can see coming through. And you will see there quite distinctly the operations that these groups have been involved in, John.
Yes, so it's the 1st Battalion there, and all their battle honours are on that main sign at the front. And there's a large contingent here today. And you'll see a lot of contingent from our latest conflicts. We have Operation Solace, Somalia, which also we sent troops over in 1992 to 93, one of our battalion group. Next is the 2nd Battalion Royal Australian Regiment. And then we
Just before the Pipers, John, it's the 9th Division that have come through there.
thanks very much, Pat.
But that's the RSL Memorial Pipes and Drums, so I'm not going to compete with them. Now we have the naval cadets coming through. They are very active in the North Queensland area, having their weekly meetings. Friday nights they march up. And the 101 squadron following it up that day.
That's correct. The Army Cadets first formed in council in 1943. And the Airport Recruits and the Naval Cadets formed in 1967. The unit, the Army Cadets, is strongly supported by the Army Reserve Host and 3142A.
Next we have the Scouts.
Craft for more extreme challenges such as abseiling, overnight hiking, rafting and canoeing.
Day as well, working throughout the crowd. I know at the dawn service I had someone beside me.
Great play. And then,
got to go back to some of those battles that we've seen commemorated in recent times, and especially what Australian men and women did in France and in Europe and Canada.
Next one is the North Queensland Historical Reenactment Society. They are living history groups of additional trades and activities related to the third Battalion 1945. They operate out of Tassim Barracks in Hut 28. And
Good to see the ladies dressed up in those uniforms. Coming past the Townsville Gymnastic Group, and you might see a couple of them even demonstrating their skills.
no. And you'll see the last of that's the parade marshal on us today with Eddie Harrison, the Troop Brigade. They're putting the eyes right for a small contingent. The next groups now are all the Group 4 school groups, and there's a plethora of students represented here today, and it's great to see the children marching, some proudly wearing their fathers, grandfathers, relatives' medals on the right side.
That's it. Now, John, a couple of schools worth mentioning significantly to start with, to give everyone a mention, but schools that have a very close association with defence families, purely by their location. Annandale Christian College, Annandale State School to start off. Garden State School, and that goes back to a significant history in the First War.
Yes, so all my elders will be protected.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
John, at the start of the parade, as everyone forms up in Strand Park, I'm not sure if everyone's entirely aware of this, but something that's relatively new to the parade is that the kids line the road around Strand Park. That's where they form up. And the servicemen and women line on the other side. So they come through. The children form a guard of honour.
Yes, which is just fantastic to see.
That's what they form that guard of honour. So they get to see the parade and see exactly what you're seeing here at this end at ANZAC Park. But then they get to fall in behind and play their part as well.
And I think it's very significant. They see all the past veterans march past, and it's a mark of respect, and then they parade. It's interesting to note the schools in Townsville. Townsville was a huge forward operating base for the South Pacific, and a lot of this here they became headquarters, living accommodation, and Townsville swelled from 30,000 members to 100,000 in 1942.
Should give a shout out to some of these schools. We've had Cranbrook State School, Garbutt, another school that has a lot to talk about given its proximity to the RAAF base.
Yes, they have 110 students enrolled. It's located near the RAAF base.
The Higley kids coming through.
Yes, it first built in 1968 as a defence school, a long tradition of the defence community, and as a cadet unit meeting regularly.
Higley State Primary, where are we up to next? We've got Holy Spirit Catholic, we've already been through, Iggy Park, and Berlin State School. Ignatius Park I've left out too.
Yeah, Ignatius Park.
Don't want to leave out Ignatius Park.
Yep. Marion Catholic School, established in 1988. Munningborough State School behind. They opened in 1884 with 38 students. Today they have a school of enrolment of over 700 students, and during World War II, Munningborough State School was used as a base for troops. The school has a very proud history.
We've talked about the involvement of bringing veterans and the stories of Australia's military history to the schools, and the way that that's quite a very important, well, it's still a very important thing to do. Seeing here a big poppy on one of the flags here, lest we forget, and you would have noticed enough of the schools got fairly significant signs out the front. I see Railway Estate State School going past to have a big lest we forget. And the kids have been involved in making those letters and putting them out there on the front fence. Just one example.
And they look forward to this day. They spend weeks, months prior ensuring that the signs are correct and signify their school. The interesting one, Northern Beach has now just gone past, and Anoomba State School.
Then we have Riverside Adventist Christian School.
Railway Estate went past, Pimlico High School, Southern Cross Catholic School.
In fact, we have the Pimlico might have a slight change in the order. We have Pimlico coming through after Southern Cross.
And Southern Cross has 830 students, 110 of which come from defence families. So as you can see, the schools here are very comprising of defence members. As I said before many times, being a garrison city, it's instilled all through us, from the schools, the young students, all the way up.
Well, it's never too far away. We've had, unfortunately, some very timely reminders of that in recent years with the conflicts Australia's been involved in and the way that local servicemen and women from here in North Queensland have been deployed. Not all of them have come back, and we know that touches families. You know, that leaves widows, it leaves widowers, it leaves children without parents. And it's another representation of that we're seeing now with these new generations, the next generation of Australians coming through.
We have Margaret Mary's College.
And that is Railway Estate. We've got in their yellow shirts coming through there as well, in front of Margaret Mary's. And at this point in time, look across to the dais where the officials are, and we can see the wing commander gets a chance to clap and stop saluting.
Yes, I think he's asked for a little bit tired now, and it's been a long morning, but it's good to see that the acknowledgement to all our school children.
I've never seen anyone taking the salute look as though they're wavering in any way, and they've never let on that their arms are sore, but they must get sore afterwards, I tell you.
Oh, of course they do.
St Joseph's College at Moneyborough are the next school coming through here this morning.
And they were established in 1924.
And should mention at this point, you're on 6:30 ABC North Queensland, as well as here at the Strand in Townsville for the annual ANZAC Day Parade. My name's Pat Hessian, and you're also hearing with the person who knows what's going on, a lot more than me, I'd have to say, Major John Lavery from Army Museum North Queensland.
I don't know about that, Pat. We've missed a couple here this morning because they're out of line, but we'll do the best we can.
This is St Patrick's College.
Yes. And then followed by the Cathedral School.
And their band.
Yes, and they were founded in 1917 by the Sisters of the Society of the Sacred Act. In 2017, the Cathedral School will celebrate its centenary.
John, we also see the kids taking their hats off as they show their respect as they move past the official party on the dais too.
Yes, that's correct. It's a way of saluting.
Next up we have St Joey's on the Strand. And a number of the smaller schools starting to roll through, so we may not have so much time to talk about the schools individually, but we've got Thurrangower High with their contingent, and then we move through to the Townsville Central State School.
Yep.
I was missing that important word.
And they were established in 1869. They're known as the Premier School, and it's on the side of the old jail.
I didn't know that. I was reading through some of the notes and did not realise that. We've
Townsville Grammar School is the oldest secondary school in North Queensland. Commencing operations in 1888. Opened its doors to 23 boys.
Bigger now.
Much.
But yes, and very soon I believe we'll have the oldest school in the region coming through. Got to give a special shout out to the kids in their red shirts, the Townsville South State School. And yes, there we go, I'm getting away from my daughter who's down there with that lot.
Students wear the mud pickle in their uniform with pride. The name of given students was has been Ross Island School. So Ross grew up across the mud flats, pick the mud with a stick in between their toes. Next is Townsville State High School. Again, open providing education, secondary education.
And this one goes back. It has the kids in their bright blue shirt. Townsville West State School, 1887. This one goes back to that's very early in the piece. The city of Townsville, a very big school early in its days.
In 1916, it was the third largest school in Queensland.
William Ross High School.
950 students enrolled in William Ross, and they were the national winners of the ANZAC Schools Award for 19 Correction from 2015. And last but not least is the Woogaroo State School, approximately 340 students.
That's right. We actually took the words out of my mouth. Last but not least, we've got many schools here. And it's actually quite spectacular. You may not appreciate it from ground level, but here where we are in the commentary position, it's amazing to see just how many people we've got here and here to show their respects today. Now we have the Queensland Ambulance Service. So this is the next group coming through. We have a number of organisations that, I guess, John, have a, well, there's a significant link between these civilian forces and the military. A lot of people who might have come out of the military have moved into, whether it's the ambulance, the police, the SES, the fire brigades, and there's still a very close association there.
Yeah, and you're correct, Pat. And this special group of emergency service provide a unique service to the community. They see things, they're not military and they're not on operations. However, they perform all those tasks. They see death, they come across horrendous accidents, and they provide fantastic service in the time of cyclones, fires, and helping the community. So I take my hat off to these people.
That's right, and if you look closer at some of the uniforms, you'll notice that they are adorned with the military badges as well. So again, we're talking about people who've served, and now they've moved on to those civilian forces.
And a lot of them go to those because they are part of a service, and they can facilitate that team and that mateship that they had in the Defence Force.
And we have, well, a couple of big boys' toys coming, but we've got, first of all, the fire brigade vehicles. I should mention the Salvation Army always play a part, and with their distinctive green truck that comes through every year, but you see it around so often.
Yes, the old story, we all saying thank God for the salvos. There's never a true word said, and it's fantastic to see them there, and they're out in the field, and the selling man and salvos turn up with a cold drink and a word of wisdom. It's really good.
Wonderful to see everyone getting a wave and a clap. Such magnificent support, it really is. And it looks as though, I can't quite see it because we've got some great fire brigade appliances coming. One from the airport, that's the distinctive yellow ones.
Yeah, the Townsville Region Combined Fire Service is made up of the Federal Fire Service, being aviation rescue firefighting, and the State Fire Service being Queensland Fire and Emergency Services, both urban and rural firefighters.
And John, I would like to also mention that we've had the ambulance come through to march today, we've had the fire brigade, we've had the SES. The police don't get a chance to march because they're all busy working today. You see them at the front of the parade, you see them at the end of the parade, and of course, all the way along the strand here today, you'll notice there's been a very significant showing by the police, and that's their contribution and their way of being recognised on a day like today. So they don't get to march because they've got other more important duties to do on the day.
Oh, we can hear them now though at the end. RAF base, and all the major artery roads are inland, Farrangower Drive, all these sort of places.
Dalrymple Road,
are all taxiways and all that. So I hark back that this city has been involved and closely linked with military for well over a century.
Absolutely, and still got those sirens going there. No one's overcompensating there, are they? Well, very soon, it hasn't quite coincided with the parade itself this year, but the RAAF, as is customary, planning a flyby, it's scheduled to come through at 10:15 this morning, so we're around 5 minutes away from 10 now, so about 20 minutes via the Sums. They'll start off down towards Pallarenda, and they'll come all the way along through Rose Bay and the Strand, and be flying directly over ANZAC Park at approximately 10:15. And given the way they tend to work, I'd say you can probably just about set your watch by it. They will be there pretty well on the money. But it's an extensive tour that they're doing throughout the morning. They actually go as far as Cooktown to start off with before heading to Mount Garnet, so inland to Mount Garnet. They'll be going through Ingham in the next few minutes, so if you're in Ingham, good morning, g'day, and I know I've been to the ANZAC Day Parade in years ago, but I've been to the ANZAC Day Parade in Ingham, and it's always a good show. So around 10 o'clock, well 10 o'clock is the scheduled time, and then doing a loop around Townsville after 10:15 here on the Strand to make their way to fly past the Farrangower ANZAC Day March, and they're scheduled to go through at 10:25 there. Final stop on this route is in Charters Towers at 10:45 this morning. John, you mentioned very much in passing, the group's come through quite quickly, but you mentioned in passing, especially for the RAAF, but I know for the other forces, the numbers depleted today because many of them have been sent and representing the Defence Forces at marches and dawn services right across the north. They go all the way to the Torres Strait, they go all the way to the south. I know a couple of years ago, going back quite a few years actually, one of my cousins was based here at RAF Base Townsville. He ended up in Proserpine one ANZAC Day because that's where he'd been sent. So it's important to have that military presence in all of these places as well.
Yeah, it's very important in all the small towns, coastal villages and even inland that each little town commemorates this most important day, and we should have Defence members there to provide the cut-off parties or provide speeches that they can then talk to the local communities.
And we've always found in years gone by, in fact the numbers tell the story. The cenotaph, the war memorial in each of our towns tells the story of what happened. The Mayor here in Townsville gave her speech this morning at the dawn service and said 16% of the young men enlisted for the First War when the call went out. It seems to be the smaller the town, the higher the representation of young men who answered that call.
Yes, in fact, they came from far and wide, inland. They rode their horses in World War I. They formed long, walked hundreds of miles to get in here to actually enlist in Townsville for the great adventure.
Worth mentioning again, John, wearing your hat as the manager at Army Museum North Queensland. You're, as of course, many people involved at the Army Museum involved here on the Strand this morning, but then pretty well heading straight up the other end to be a part of the museum's day. Your day starts there at 11 o'clock.
Yes, we do, and look, the museum, there's no entrance fee, there's a donation. The museum is run by 52 volunteers who give them the most precious aspect of their time, free of charge, and the museum is a fantastic showcase of Army in North Queensland. Please, if you get time, come up and visit us. We'd love to see you there.
And especially with that fantastic venue, on a day like today, head up to the top of Kissing Point, have a good look, maybe take a selfie as well, and pop in and say good day to them. They are very friendly at Army Museum North Queensland, but it really does, especially I know in my case, with young children who don't understand all of the things we're talking about today. It's a way to maybe do it in your own time, to take that time and to have some things there that will help you demonstrate what we're actually talking about. So it's not just words, you can demonstrate it with something that's right there in front of you.
Yeah, you're right, Pat. And the parade's a very quick parade, and it's very hard to talk a lot in depth about the various units that march past in their history. And I would behove anybody to get on the net and have a read about some of the units and what they did for this country.
Well, if you're listening on 6:30 ABC North Queensland, thank you very much for being a part of it here at the Strand today. And whatever you're up to for ANZAC Day, you make the most of it. And keep in mind the things you've thought about this morning, and obviously think about what you can do, not just today, but throughout the course of your year, because it's wonderful to highlight these things for one day of the year, but we need to be keeping it in the back of our mind at all times.
John, fantastic turnout here today. I think everyone who's here has been making their hands sore for the happy cheering. The veterans, today was, and I forget anyway, a lot choose to do their own thing and have an individual routine, tradition, like that. Meeting with some people on service, don't fly for breakfast or like that, in fact, we have asked ourselves.
A lot of the units also have activities post-march, and I'll go back to their own parent units. Here goes the fly past now.
Unit might be running a few minutes early. I've given them the big wrap and
Very early.
15 minutes early, there you go.
And a lot of the others go back to the carousel, will be open, and expedition will tour. And I think it's a golden opportunity for all the veterans, the camaraderie, to have a beer, to get together, tell some old stories. It's that unique getting together.
How's your life?
Couple of rum and milk.
Always a good.
Glad I'm not the only one. Well, John, thank you very much for being part of things here today.
Thanks, Pat. It's been an eye-opener for me. You pointed out that it was very fast and furious, and you're dead right. And as I said, unfortunately, you'd like to be able to say a lot more about each group, but the gap between them just doesn't give you that opportunity to do so. But I've had a great time. You never know, I might get invited back next year. We'll see how that goes, and I'll improve the batting average.
That's right. Well, the first time's always the hardest, and as someone who's done it once before, now twice, yes, if we get the return invite, we're making things bigger and better for next year, of course. But thank you very much for being a part of it. If you're listening on the radio, if you're listening as part of the group here at the Strand of Queenstown this morning, it's been wonderful to be here with you. On behalf of Major John Lavery from the Army Museum of Queensland and myself, Pat Hosham, thank you very much for the wonderful day, whatever it is you're doing.
No, yeah, oh no,